I woke up and wished that I was dead, with an aching in my head. I lay motionless in bed. I thought of you and where you gone. Let the world spin my bell.
Good morning and welcome. Happy Friday. We are back. You're tuned in and listening to Back Talk with Sharona. I'm your host. My name is Sharona. As always, I thank you for tuning in. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, a bit of a break. There was a lot of we did a lot of shows leading up to the election, and as things started to kind of spin and turn, we went on there's only so much you could say about this election, and it really was one of the most horrible things that I've ever witnessed, and I know a lot of people sort of feel the same. I'm heartsick. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm embarrassed for this country. But I had an opportunity to sit down with my buddy Matt Wood last night. It was only fitting that Matt and I sit down and do a postmortem, a wrap-up of the election, since he and I had spent a lot of time talking about it, covering it, and talking about it. And it's funny. We, both of us, the last few weeks have been like, maybe we postpone sitting down and talking about this. It was obvious that neither one of us, we had election coverage exhaustion early, and I'd like to say that I'm surprised. I'm not. I saw it coming, and I was hoping that I was wrong, but I was not wrong. This country has elected Donald Trump. I'm embarrassed. And if you voted for Donald Trump, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed for you, and we're the difference between what this country has long professed to be, but what it actually is so stark. We saw it this election cycle. We've seen it before. Maybe it's because I'm getting older that I tend to see these things more clearly. I don't know. We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, my chit chat with Matt Wood. This will be a short podcast this morning, real quick, just to wrap things up from the election. Then we'll be back next week with maybe some longer podcasts with, more talk about sports and other things. I just didn't have it in me this morning. By the way, happy Veterans Day. So we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, my chat with Matt Wood, chopping it up with Matt and Sharona. So stay tuned in. You are listening to Back Talk with Sharona. All right, welcome back. We are back. Don't call it a comeback. We're recording this. Matt and I are sitting down for the latest installation of Chopping It Up with Matt and Sharona. It's been a struggle for both of us as this election approached, and we were both like, there's only so much you could say about it, right, Matt?
Right. I mean, at least with that election, it's like, okay, he said this and she said that, and I guess we'll wait and see till in November.
Yeah, and we did. So we really did see. It was ugly and awful, but the point is we're doing this on Thursday night, and we haven't done one of these in a few weeks, because I think we were both just exhausted with it all. And Matt and I'll have to talk and see what he may want to take a little bit of a break, because he's got a sense of what it's like to podcast, and it's work, isn't it, Matt?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So anyway, it's Thursday evening, November the 10th, and the United States has elected Donald Trump as its president. And I know a lot of people were surprised about that, but Matt and I both, and I think that's part of the reason why we didn't really want to do this. We sort of saw it coming, didn't we, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, uh, um, you have a lot of folks, where it really wasn't so much, like a lot of the, Trump votes and stuff came from folks who are hurting. And, they voted for him I'm going to say in spite of his rhetoric, hoping that, well, maybe he tones it down once he becomes in office. You know,
Except but they were presented with years and years and years worth. This is who he is.
Yeah. I the only thing I can I really can't.
Yeah, you're a lot nicer than me, Matt, because I'm really harsh, and on my Wednesday night show, I just said a bunch of people aren't really all that smart.
Yeah.
Because if you're a poor boy, if you're even middle class, I don't know what middle class America means anymore, and I do think that economics is part of it. But I was thinking that on election night as I watched it unfold, and I had already conveyed my reservations, my state of mind to some people, and everybody was like, "No, it's going to be okay." But as I watched it unfold, it came to me that I can imagine other people across the globe, thinking people across the globe, looking over at us and saying, "Oh, it's hit them, it's hit there too," because nationalism, this is not a local phenomenon. Nationalism is worldwide. It's and it's amazing to me that a lot of this, the base that voted Donald Trump into office, are some of the worst rhetorically about nationalism elsewhere, yet they support it here. And it's been if it wasn't so depressing and mind numbing, it's been it would be an interesting scholarly.
Well, and and there's you're starting to see news report or articles and stuff out now like, oh, Bernie Sanders would have wiped the floor with him. Maybe. We don't know that.
No.
I mean,
or Joe Biden. I expect Joe Biden to be popular, but I mean, his rhetoric resounded with a lot of people who. The nationalism movement is here.
Yeah, and and the thing is like, Bernie ran on the whole anti free trade agreement as well. And other than Trump calling him a socialist every 5 seconds, it's like he had no scandals. It's like, what were you going to really pin on him? He's been married to the same woman forever. It's and Bernie wouldn't have gone to an attack like that, saying like calling out wives and kids or anything.
Yeah.
So it's who's to say that? But in Bernie Sanders, like a lot of his support, everybody seems to have forgotten the Occupy movement. Everybody thought it was just a bunch of rich kids, pissed off like, oh, they don't get free college or something. And it wasn't. It's like, hey, we were severely affected by the economy, whether it was in the 2000s or the Great Recession. All we did was see you give money to the banks and, kind of wiped your hands and went away. Yeah. And, now this is what we have to deal with now. And the thing is like, it's easy for me to say like, hey, we'll be all right or whatever.
Do you think that Tim, excuse me,
that will benefit from that?
Do you think that Tim Kaine's close ties to the banking industry hurt them?
I think a lot of it hurt them. Hold on, sweetie. I think a lot of like their ties to Wall Street hurt them. You had Hillary giving talks to Goldman Sachs executives and then not releasing the transcripts, and then all this stuff. It's like very shady, and people go like, oh well, yeah. It's like we may have like all these social justice issues, but I don't think you're going to do anything. It just seems like the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poor.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: it's always going to be like that.
Why do they think that Donald Trump's going to be any better? I mean, if you're labor, if you're a union person and you're labor, the Republican Party's not for you.
Right. I mean, Donald Trump wasn't going up there going like, "Hey, people, you guys have to mobilize and make sure you put the boot to the neck of your boss, your CEOs." So I mean, he just sit there and said, now you got to think of like who the largest demographic of folks were voting for him. You had over 40s. It's baby boomers, right? And then I mean, obviously too, you had like a lot of white male, no high school diploma, and things like that. But it's like those people were affected in the 90s when, late 80s and 90s and stuff when NAFTA was a Bill Clinton thing. That thing was signed. You had like these factories move up and move to Mexico and China and whatever, and they're like, oh shit, where the hell's my job? And so it did.
But NAFTA also it created jobs too.
Right. Trade agreements do bring in a lot of wealth for a country. And this is what it is. It's the effects of globalization. It hasn't like evened out yet, right? And who knows if it ever will. And that's the thing that people are going to have to start realizing. Those jobs are probably not coming back. No matter how many times you can say, like, oh, if you move your job overseas, I'm making your import tariffs 35%.
Yeah.
That may do something for the small ones, but like large corporations, okay, whatever. Yeah. And any manufacturing job that is starting, I'm not from a time, I wasn't born in the 60s, 50s, 60s, or 70s. So I don't, of knowing of a factory opening up and bringing thousands of jobs.
Right.
I've known of is a factory opening and you get a couple hundred jobs.
Yeah.
That's all I've known. And so those factories are going to pop up. Yeah, you might get 100, 200 jobs. A lot of that stuff's going to be automated, and it's going to keep getting automated.
Oh, yeah.
That is a thing. That is a reality that we're moving towards. And you can say, like, oh, we'll turn back time. You can't. And the free market will not allow that. As long as a robot costs less than a human, that is what's going to happen. That is what the market demands. And so, is Trump going to fix it? I don't know. Who knows? Would Bernie Sanders have been able to fix that? Who the hell knows? I mean, but that is something we're moving to, and we have to talk about it. Elon Musk, said something similar, and he's calling for basic income. And now, obviously, that clamors a bunch of people saying, oh, you just want free money. It's like, no, you actually have to realize, like, it's not so much that you're not employable, is that you are completely unemployable. And that is something that is going to happen. It may not happen in 4 years or 6 or whatever. I mean, that is where we're going. So where are the jobs coming? I don't know. I mean, there was even a news article today. I mean, you got to think, we're getting self-driving vehicles. That stuff's going to start coming out. And these self-driving trucks, bam, there's just a whole other industry of blue-collar workers without a job. That's going to be left out of the economy.
They're already talking about like automating and look at what Facebook is doing with news feeds.
Yeah, that's a completely automated system now. There's nobody checking.
So yeah, I mean, Zach and I talked about this Wednesday night, and it's certainly some of it is the angst is understandable. I just think that they picked the worst candidate to fix it.
I do not disagree there.
And but yeah, when the pie is shrinking, and the pie has been shrinking for quite some time, and I think putting out when people are living this, and you put out numbers that completely contradict their human experience, and that is that the pie is shrinking. Nobody's believed the economic numbers for a while, and I really think that kind of, hurt things too.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got a shrinking pie, and it's a competition-laden system across the board, which it is now, the people with the power don't want to lose it. For one, they don't want to give it up. And in this case, and that applies to everything. In this case, we're talking about earning power, and who threatens that? Who by and large is threatening that? Well, it's women and minorities, and so it's going to. I mean, I think that's a large portion of this.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm going to share this is profoundly true. It's from Ricky Gervais. In the long run, things won't change much. The rich will stay rich or get richer, and the people with power will make the poor blame each other. And that's what's always been. And
I think there's some truth to that. And
there's a number of things where it's going to be really interesting. Obviously they're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, okay? But it's you have 22 million people.
They're going to completely and utterly screw everything.
And you got to think of who those people are. It's you're affecting your voter base.
The people that are, listen, many of the people who are going to be affected by this voted for him.
Yeah.
And they think that it's it's so not smart. It's just not smart.
And let's remember, okay, Obamacare, its skeleton, right, was a Republican idea. That was their idea in 1996.
Yeah.
And it was instituted in Massachusetts by Mitt Romney when he was governor. I think, and I could be completely wrong and way off base. I know his site says he's going to do HSAs and stuff, but it's they'll probably just file off the serial numbers on Obamacare, maybe throw off some tax stuff, repackage it, and now with Medicaid expansion, you got to think all of these Republican governors in all these states. Of course, my guy's in, does the Medicaid expansion, and it gets better or whatever. It's we could sit there and go, oh yeah, XYZ is going to happen because they said this on the campaign trail. I remember this, Obama stuff. I was like, bam, no Guantanamo Bay anymore. Wars are ending. It's going to be awesome. And what happened? No, Guantanamo Bay is still open. The Iraq War, that was going to end anyway. That was put into place by Bush. So all he had to do was just be in the seat when it happened. Afghanistan, still got folks over there. Drone strikes. It's Jesus Christ. If you looked at it, from what you felt when you voted for them and, the actions, you're like, oh man, what the hell? Your foreign policy is a lot like Bush's. And, and then Trump may take the same route. There's a lot of, and there was even an article today, was it CNN or, yeah, it was CNN, Chris Christie, hey, lock her up, yeah, more like let her go. It's probably not going to happen because, we're essentially saying, hey, we're going to jail our political opponents, and that's not what America's about. So all those people chanting there, they're already going to be kind of disaffected. Who knows? He could still do it. We don't know. But it's there's a lot of, hold on, guys. I wasn't 100% serious on some of the shit I was saying.
Well, I mean, he contradicted himself constantly,
Oh,
and so to pin him down on anything except, you know, the hate stuff is, but it didn't seem to matter, and so, I really, I said Wednesday night that this election was the defining moment when America completely and utterly abandoned, its decency and common sense, and I still feel that way. But
mm-hmm.
I'm remarkably calm about it. Simply because I had sort of prepared myself. That it was going to happen, and that this was going to, be a
Yeah.
thing. But I'm exhausted, Matt. I'm just exhausted with it.
Well, it will. I mean, it took me a day, right? I mean, yesterday I said, hey, we gotta do this again. I was too depressed, type thing. And granted, I'm not a woman. I'm not a person of color. So, when I say like, oh, maybe it'll be all right, I'm in the group that's going to benefit the most. But I am deeply concerned for women, people of color, all sorts of folks that, it's like, hey, you took the bruntest hit from his rhetoric, and then
it's going to be terrible for women, and
you look at the polls, and it just boggles your mind too, because 1 in 4 Latinos voted for Trump, 28% African American, or a little bit more than that, 34% African Americans voted for Trump. It's just
white women, middle-aged white women, voted.
It's like, there's and hopefully, I mean, Nashville today, right? At the Islamic Center.
Mm-hmm.
Folks were like, oh, shit, here we go, already protesting, all this stuff. And what happened? It was people saying, we want you in this community. We love you. We want you here.
Mm-hmm.
That's America right there, Yeah, we took a beating, but we're getting up. We're showing you, like, hey, we're here to fight too. And, hey, 4 years, we get to be the loyal opposition, right? We get to be the ones sharing pictures of our president with Hitler stashes and Joker makeup and, misspelled signs and everything. So,
what do you? I mean, who do you see being 4 years from now? Who is the Democratic nominee?
Jesus, I don't know. DNC's got to do like some rebuilding. None of this freaking, hey, in the back room with the Goldman Sachs banker, having brandy and cigars. It's got to be grassroots, and I mean,
do you think
it's got to be someone who's younger and energetic and saying, you know what, we got this.
What about the New Jersey guy, Cory? What's his name?
Cory Booker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. And I mean, he just has to get his name out there. I mean, there's if you don't follow politics, I mean, you don't know who these people are. I mean, we could sit there and list, names till we're blue in the face, but everybody's like, who the hell's that?
Hillary turned out to be a much better candidate than I expected, and she ran a good campaign, and I think that, but I don't see. I think that think that she's going to leave politics, but I don't see her being the nominee again. Do you?
No, she's not. She's not running again. She's probably like, yep, that was my chance, and I'm not doing it again. I don't know. We like electing reality stars to our presidency. So about Mark Cuban, 2020.
Oh God.
Cuban West, 2020.
His ego is as big as Donald. I mean, he may not be as evil, and I like Mark Cuban well enough, and he's certainly entertaining and all of that.
You wear a 3-comma tie just to let you know that he's a billionaire. I mean,
I think one thing that the Democrats need to do is rearrange their party to dispel. I agree with you, and you were saying this is part of what you were saying, to dispel the notion that being a career public servant is a bad thing.
Well, and so let's I mean, look at it this way. Obama, he was an outsider. He had what 2 years into his 4 years into his first Senate bid, where he goes, "Yep, I'm running for president." So he's an outsider. Not so much anymore, but he was when he was elected. Sanders, he was the outsider. Now Trump, the outsider. I'm starting to think it's going to be a lot of this outsider shit. It's not going to be like in the 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s.
Well, maybe. I mean, we've got someone completely and utterly unprepared to run this country in office right now, and maybe the American public will see what a bumbling. All right, we're back on the record. We had a brief little glitch, but Matt and I were talking about the election and the outsider tag that seems to be so popular now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the DNC does do to try to remake itself.
Yeah.
Are you still with me, Matt?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Is it going to be Cory Booker in 4 years? Who's it going to? What other names are out there?
Well, Howard Dean is already talking about running for the.
Oh God.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure Elizabeth Warren saw what happened to Hillary, and she's probably like, I'm good too.
Well, yeah, and Elizabeth Warren's pretty strong and everything, and she has a lot of that. Like people are sitting there saying, like, Bernie Sanders, just say Elizabeth Warren's your running mate right now, and because a lot of people who like Bernie Sanders love Elizabeth Warren. But who knows? Yeah, maybe someone's already there as a representative or a senator. Maybe 2018 rolls around and there'll be somebody else who starts shining. Not going to be Alan Grayson. He was like one of those what do you call it? Outsiders. Yeah, he was a Democrat, but he called everybody out on their bullshit. Definitely not going to be Anthony Weiner.
Yeah.
Or Elliot Spitzer, or some of these guys who politics were fine, just their personal lives completely fucked up. You can't run an anti-vice platform and then be caught with fucking prostitutes. And you can't sit there and say, hey, I'm better than you and everything, and be sexting 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's the DNC has to, go, hey, we can't be pandering to people anymore. We actually have to go out there and, get the people inspired by our candidates. People were inspired by Obama. In 2008. Maybe they were less inspired, but they still went out there and voted for him in 2012. And no matter how much he ran out there and campaigned, everybody knew, well, who's going in that office is not Obama. And, and plus the polling, too. You had 538, you had Sam Wong's Princeton Election Consortium, Daily Cost, all saying, like, Hillary, 80% and above, except 538. Theirs was more bullish. There was at 65%. And my whole thing was, I was like, hey, don't get complacent. Just because it says an 80% chance, that doesn't mean that's happened.
Well, I saw something that said Democrats stayed home and while Republicans turned out.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they all stayed home, but a lot of them probably were like, hey, uh, you know, either A, I live in a state where my vote won't matter, like let's say Tennessee, um, because it's going to go Trump regardless,
Hmm.
or
Well, she won the popular vote, right? I mean,
right.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you had definitely a lot more folks who stayed home because they were
Yeah.
like, A, I don't like her.
Yeah.
B,
I think that was a lot of it.
B, my my vote's not going to count, or and here's another idea. Maybe you had some moderate Democrats or something who are throwing in may have voted Donald Trump as a protest vote, thinking, well, she's got in the bag, so let me just vote for him, which is dumb, but that's a possibility as well.
I hope those people rot in hell.
Well, yeah, it's like you want to send a message to the establishment. I mean, like, I guess you fucking sent it, but
I guess. I guess. Well, buddy, it was fun talking to you. About the elections leading up to it. I don't know, where we go from here, except through hell, hopefully back.
yeah,
And I think the next decade, because even if reason does prevail in 4 or 8 years, it's going to take a while to undo the damage that he's going to do. And so I expect the next decade to really suck.
yeah, probably. But hey, at least there's beer.
Yeah, that's why God created beer, to help us plebes get through the dark days. Matt, it was fun. We'll have to talk about what we're going to do in the future. You may want a break, but tell everybody out there where they can find you.
At Woodstock, that's W00DSTOK.
Maybe we'll talk some Preds soon.
Oh yeah, well let's not keep depressing me.
Okay.
So
All right. Have a good evening, Matt.
you too.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Don't wish it away. Don't look at it like it's forever.
All right. Shout out to Matt Wood, who's such a great guy and always so fun to talk to. And I'm glad that we were able to do that, able to sit down and have a little post-election, um, you know, sad fest, I suppose we should call it. I don't have a whole lot more else to say about it except that I am so disappointed in this country. I'm heartsick. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of fighting for people who don't appreciate it. And I'm talking primarily to my gender. I'm so upset with women right now, especially white women who I I can't. I don't even know how they could stomach voting for this man, but they did. And I've spent a large portion of my life fighting for you, and I'm disinclined to do it right now. I'm just um I'm tired. So we'll see how things go over the course of the next few weeks. We're going to be back next week with another podcast. Maybe we'll have some fun. Maybe that'll make me feel better. Maybe that will cure this, this post-election depression that I have. I don't like feeling this way, but I'm upset with this country, what this country has done, and um, it's embarrassing. So happy Friday. Happy Veterans Day. Shout out to all the soldiers who put their lives on the line each and every day to grant us the freedom that we seem to not appreciate. Um, yeah. So we'll be back next week. Have a great weekend. And yeah, so we're back, but I don't know that we're happy about it. But we'll have some fun. We'll have some fun next week and try to kind of pick things up and do a little better. You've been listening to Back Talk with Sharona. I'm your host. My name is Sharona. You can follow me out there in Twitter sphere at Sports by Sharona. Check out my website, Back Talk with Sharona, and we'll be back next week.
A bullet from the back of a bush took Medgar Evers' blood. A finger fired the trigger to his name. A handle hit out in the dark. A hand sent the spark. Two eyes took the aim behind a man's brain. But he can't be blamed. He's only a pawn in their game. The South politician preaches to the poor white man. You got more than the blacks, don't complain.